Hello and welcome to my little podcast. I have no idea what this is. Basically, this is my first podcast, so yeah. My name is Dragonfate88 online. I do Twitch streams and stuff, but occasionally I like to talk about just various cartoons and shows that I like to watch. And today I am joined by my boyfriend, Eli Sanza.
Hi.
Who also likes to talk about all kinds of various shows and stuff like that. A lot of animation. We're both huge animation fans.
Yeah, we're both basically nerds.
Yeah. So we're basically just kind of ad-libbing, giving our thoughts on the new Jellystone cartoon because we both ended up liking it to varying degrees, and in general, it's just kind of an interesting show to talk about, you know?
Yeah, well, because we're there's a lot of Hanna Barbera Easter eggs in this show, and if you have if you were a fan of Hanna Barbera growing up, this is a very interesting show to watch and to talk about.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because there's just so much Hanna Barbera. Basically, the premise of the show is just these Hanna Barbera characters from all over the place. We're not even talking about Yogi Bear, or Scooby-Doo doesn't even make an appearance in this at all.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not like any of the super popular ones. It's really a lot more of the obscure shows, or the ones that you probably haven't heard of in years. Nobody's mentioned these characters in so long.
Yeah, it's almost like the point of the show existing was to shine a spotlight on the more obscure characters, because Hanna-Barbera has been paying most attention to Tom and Jerry and Scooby-Doo for the most part. So this is they're finally going to give attention to some long dormant characters.
Basically. Even stuff like Yogi Bear hasn't been in the public sphere outside of maybe a few people still remember him. He's appeared on posters or things like that.
He's one of their more popular characters.
Yeah, but he hasn't been in a show in a long time. The closest thing was the live action film, I think, was the closest to a Yogi Bear revival.
Yeah, I think that was the last one.
Yeah, but that didn't do so well, so...
Yeah, so of course they're going a completely different direction with Jellystone now.
Yeah, and the show is being helmed by C.H. Greenblatt, who people will probably recognize as being the person who created Chowder. Chowder's been getting a lot more attention lately, so that's probably the one people are most familiar of. But he has also done Harvey Beaks as well.
Right.
I myself haven't checked out Harvey Beaks, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I haven't checked out Chowder or Harvey Beaks yet, actually. So I don't know much about them, but I imagine they were popular enough that they're gonna hire the same person behind that to handle a bunch of Hanna-Barbera characters. Mm-hmm. I assume Warner Brothers trusts this guy, so I assume his show was probably popular.
Yeah. I don't think it was popular when it was released, at least not Chowder. Harvey Beaks, I think, did all right, but it was mishandled by Nickelodeon.
I heard about that, yeah.
Nickelodeon
mishandled it. Like they didn't tell C.H. Greenblatt whether the show was even renewed or not. There was some kind of communication problem.
Yeah. So his show, Harvey Beaks, got a bit mishandled, but Chowder, I think Chowder really got more popular in the recent years.
Right. It has a cult following, you're saying?
Yeah, basically. Because it was around the time I think the early 2000s, right before they made their... It was on Cartoon Network. It was right before I think they made their shift into live action stuff, you remember?
Oh, that was around 2005 or something.
Something like that. That sounds about right. I might be wrong, but I think it was one of the last cartoons before that.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of these shows basically show that, C.H. Greenblatt, he knows how to, helm a show. He knows how to direct. He knows how to handle, things. And so far, Jellystone, I think, has been pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's, there were some episodes of Jellystone that are better than others. It's sort of the quality shifts a little bit, but it's mostly consistently good throughout the entire run.
Yeah. Like, the thing I kept mentioning was, I think there's at least, like, one good joke in every episode that just kind of catches you off guard when it comes to Jellystone.
Yeah.
And while, like, I do agree, because Jellystone, it isn't, like, focusing on just, like, Yogi Bear and then other characters, like, come in. No, it's focusing on, like, Yogi Bear, and then you'll have another episode focusing almost exclusively on Augie Doggy and Daddy Doggy.
Yeah.
And then you have another episode that's just focusing on, like, Jabberjaw and Loopy-de-Loop and Magilla Gorilla.
Yes.
It's like a variety show.
It kind of is,
Yeah.
It's like, it's Yogi Bear sort of is like the lead character a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it is called Jellystone. But yeah, they treat all the characters like they're the stars though.
Basically, yeah. Like, you have, like, your kind of, like, main group that you can focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, like, the ones that I mentioned before, and then you got, like, Augie Doggy and her classmates hanging out.
Yeah.
You got Shagrug, is that his name from, like, the Hillbilly Bears?
I don't remember any of the names of the Hillbilly Bears. But you're talking about the little one?
Yeah, the little one with the blue hat.
Yeah,
Like, he's also kind of a main character in this.
Yeah, and I do like him. He's kind of a good character.
Yeah. I don't think that was his character in, like, the Hillbilly Bears. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my computer did something there. Oh, we're fine. I don't think he was, like... When it came to, like, the Hillbilly Bears, I don't think that was his character in that. But...
you mean the original Hillbilly?
Yeah, in the original.
Yeah, the originals are very different from the new ones. And actually not just the Hillbilly Bears, but all of them, they're kind of just sort of like, their personalities are either amplified to the max in the shows to give it more like energy and wit.
Yeah.
Or they completely overhaul the character completely. Jabberjaw was kind of like a complete overhaul from how he was in the old cartoon.
Basically, yeah, because a lot of the characters in Jellystone got gender flipped because when it came to at least, like, the animal characters in Hanna Barbera, there wasn't a ton of female, like, animal characters. It was a lot of, like, male animal characters.
Yeah, and I feel like this might be like a hot topic for certain Hanna Barbera fans, the gender flipping, because on one hand I understand this because you're right, there weren't a lot of female characters, and they're trying to make a modern update to a show, and the culture has changed from the 60s to today, and we're trying to appeal more to girls now than we were back then.
Yeah.
And so it would make sense to gender bend some people, just because, like, a lot of young people who watch this aren't going to be familiar with these characters anyway, so you might as well. And, like, for fans of the characters like me, who, like, remember the old incarnations, I didn't mind it that much, because I'm a lot of these characters that were in old Hanna-Barbera shows, I didn't have a huge attachment to them anyway, so I don't mind them changing things up, especially since it's not like because like about how, like, there was controversy about the female Ghostbusters, right? So, yeah, I feel like some people might go in that direction of thinking, why are you, like, changing it from a man to a woman? And like a lot of sexists think that, though, and, like, so you don't have to, like, who cares what they think?
Yeah.
But if I was also okay with, though I didn't like the female Ghostbusters because I didn't think it was funny, not because it was about women.
Yeah. It wasn't the gender flip; it was more the comedy.
No, the gender flipping is not a make or break for a show. I don't care about that. I just care about the writing quality, so that's fine with me.
Yeah, plus, like, a lot of the gender flip characters, it's not like they gender flipped Yogi Bear or anything like that. Like, Yogi's pretty much, like, the same, give or take, like you said, like, amplifying his, like, personal qualities.
Yeah.
It was mostly, like, they just gender flipped, like, Augie Doggy, Jabberjaw, Loopity-Loop, they gender flip. It was more characters that you, like, that are more obscure, basically. They're not like headline characters.
Yeah, they pretty much kept all the most popular characters the same, and which I think was smart. And the Top Cat and Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound are still the same, and they were some of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
Whereas obscure characters like some of the cats in Top Cat's gang are girls now. They used to all be boys in the original Top Cat, but now there's some female cats.
Yeah, I think the ones that got changed were Brain, Spooky, and Choo Choo. They're the ones that got gender flipped.
Right, yeah, there were 3. So, I think you're right about that, yeah.
So now Top Cat's gang consists of 3 males, Top Cat, Benny, and Fancy Fancy, and now they have 3 girls, which makes it even.
It makes it even. That makes perfect sense. That's fine.
Yeah. And I like how it wasn't just Choo Choo that got gender flipped. And what's nice about, like, Choo Choo is even though Choo Choo got gender flipped, it's a little hard to tell until you hear, like, them call Choo Choo she.
Yeah.
Because even her voice, like, she's not doing, like, basically like my voice. You can tell I'm probably female.
Right.
She has, like, more of a kind of, like, deeper, like, I don't know about this Top Cat. Like, kind of this voice, you know?
Yeah, a little bit. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like, she's kind of, like, not feminine in her voice, in her vocal quality a little bit.
Yeah, so I like that, like, even though they gender flip, like, the females, they're not being, like, super obvious.
Which, see, that's another thing I like. Okay, yeah, when they gender flip, like, some characters into females, they don't make them all, like, Minnie Mouse or girly or stuff like that. Like, all the characters, are all male and female, all have very much a specific idiosyncrasies and a specific personality, and they do a good job, like, making a wide variety of personalities throughout the cast.
Yeah, and that's what makes me think, like, they didn't just gender flip willy-nilly. They actually thought, like, okay, if we're going to gender flip this character, how are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
Because, like, in Top Cat's gang, it still makes sense for Choo Choo and all of them to have, like, the personalities they do because they're in a gang of scammers, basically.
Yeah.
But nice scammers.
Yeah, likable scammers.
Yeah. It's all for the comedy.
Yes, which is the main point of the show. If it's not funny, this is something I wanted to point out, actually, because, like, the comedy is the most important thing, I think, about the show, because if you compare Jellystone to other animated shows, you can sort of tell that Jellystone is sort of, like, more comedy focused and not so much focused on, like, heart or deep emotions or anything like that. Which sort of makes sense when you think about how they're based on Hanna Barbera characters, because the Hanna Barbera shows from the 60s and 70s weren't that deep or emotional either. They were just basically just comedies first. That's character-based comedies, but still comedies first. And this one sort of, like, the same thing, but just with a modern update. That's
basically, yeah. A lot of people have been comparing this to, like, Chowder, like C.H. Greenblatt's other show, Chowder. And that's also because, like, it was also another very comedy kind of first show.
Right.
It had, like, characters and stuff like that, and occasionally you'd have, like, some good development, but it wasn't, like, a consistent development kind of thing.
Yeah.
Across the board. It's like, they didn't really change throughout the episodes, but that wasn't really the point. It was all the comedy.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I didn't watch Chowder, but, like, that makes total sense when I watch Jellystone, because, like, it's just the whole Jellystone is a very wacky show. It's like, it's really nonsensical, really super energetic, loud, crazy, and that's because they're only focusing on, like, trying to make you laugh as loud as possible, and I don't mind shows like that as long as they are funny. If I don't mind shows not being deep or emotional if the jokes are really funny, and so that can work. But if you compare it to something like Adventure Time or something, which Adventure Time is a very, like, heartfelt kind of emotional show, then it's going to, I could understand why it might, like, turn off some viewers a little bit. Like, it's almost turned me off, the amount of laughs and, like, no character development in the show because of the kind of shows I'm used to. But it's fine if you're in the mindset of a full-on comedy. If you're just expecting that, then Jellystone is a good show.
Yeah. Like, Jellystone is, like, for me, like, one of those shows I'd watch before, like, work or something like that, just because, like, I don't necessarily, like, want to, like, watch a show with, like, deep, like, emotional moments or anything like that. I want to watch, like, a comedy just to put me in a lighthearted mood.
Right, right. So it's perfect for you.
Exactly, yeah. So I'd probably, like, watch it before, like, going into work or something like that, just to kind of relax.
Right, yeah. Like, and I think that's what they were going for. They wanted to make like a show for people like you who could just watch it if they wanted, like, to have a good time. Just that's not a deep emotional like the time, but just a fun filled happy time.
Basically, yeah. With Jellystone, the comedy does work most of the time. Occasionally, there were like jokes that didn't hit as hard.
Yeah.
Same with like certain episodes. Like you said before, certain episodes are definitely like a little bit better than others.
Yeah.
It really depends on like I feel like your sense of humor too, and like which characters you just like in general. Some of my favorite episodes, like I mentioned before this, but like anything with Top Cat. I think is great.
Yeah.
I think like the Top Cat segments have like they're probably the closest to like what they would be in like the original.
Kind of, yeah. Like,
Just more slapstick and more wacky.
yeah.
But Top Cat is still doing kind of the same thing that he did like way back then. Like again, like scamming people,
Yeah.
trying to earn money, you know.
Yes, exactly. And I do like the rendition of Top Cat, but I also like. I'm pretty sure you agree with me about Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy.
Daddy Doggy, yeah.
I think it's Doggy Daddy. Is it Daddy Doggy? I think it's Doggy Daddy.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's Doggy Daddy.
Yeah. It's just not to confuse people listening to this. I'm pretty sure it's Doggy Daddy.
Okay.
Yeah, like we can look it up later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy, they had, I think my favorite episode was the one when they were in the store.
That was great.
That was the one that made me laugh the hardest, I think. And that was a perfect example of the kind of humor of the show where it's, when you talk about how it's wacky nonsense, basically. That entire episode was that to the max. But that would really worked, and it was really hilarious. And every moment with those two characters, I think they're like the characters where I'm always laughing at every single moment they're in the show. I think like those are my like favorite characters.
Oh yeah, like I've seen a lot of people who really like Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy a lot because Daddy in particular too is just like really funny. Like the way, like I don't know what it is, but like his voice. Who's ever doing his voice? I'll have to look this up because he's doing a great job. He has great comedic timing.
Yeah, he really does. Yeah, like the original Doggy Daddy from the old cartoons. I think they might have been doing an impression of one of those old celebrities from classic Hollywood. I think his name was Jimmy Durante. I think he's doing a Jimmy Durante impression because Jimmy Durante also had a voice like this. He talked like this all the time. Jimmy Durante. Yes, that was how he talked, and I think the voice actor in Jellystone is continuing to do the same exact thing.
Oh, actually, the person who voices Doggy Daddy, also you're right, it's Doggy Daddy.
Yes.
Is C.H. Greenblatt, actually.
Oh, C.H. Greenblatt is the creator of the show, voiced Doggy Daddy. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, surprisingly. Yeah, he's an artist and an actor. Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's just like the way he like emphasizes like things, like it's just so funny. Plus like his overprotectiveness, because it's in Jellystone, a comedy based show, so you're not supposed to take it like that deeply.
Yeah.
Like it winds up being like pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In a very, that's half sweet, half concerning kind of way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I also thought Augie Doggy was pretty funny too. Like a lot of times she was also like well written.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Like you were just talking about how like what were you just saying? Augie Doggy.
Like I was saying, like Daddy, like Doggy Daddy's like
You were talking about how like he was very hilarious, but also it was very concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like half sweet, half concerning, because you can tell he loves his daughter. He wants what's best for his daughter, but at the same time, he's just very overprotective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That you saying that got me on the train of thought of how the show is kind of. It's not. It seems like it's a kid's show. It seems like it's targeted at kids, right?
Yeah, like in general, I think in general it's for the most part it's targeted at kids. A kid can watch this perfectly fine. Like,
Yeah.
nothing's really that concerning in this show.
Yeah.
But I think it's also kind of aimed at like people who just like grew up with Hanna Barbera in general.
I think so, because if you look at all the Easter eggs in the show, from
like all the obscure stuff.
if you're a Hanna Barbera fan, you will notice things, and you're gonna notice things that no one else will notice. Only Hanna Barbera fans will notice them.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking it is not just aimed at kids.
No.
Yeah, and you can sort of tell in the way that they write the show, and that it's sort of like not aimed completely at kids either, because a lot of jokes that in the show, it seemed like the kind of things that adults could easily laugh at. Yeah, and you sort of get the sense that it's like that the people making the show don't want it to only be watched by kids.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it seems like they're also just, like, doing things just to kind of make themselves laugh. Because I think that was also kind of, like, similar with, like, again, Chowder.
Yeah.
Same creator, so that's why I keep bringing it up.
Right.
In Chowder, because, like, it also had, like, a lot of, like, stuff that kids wouldn't get, like, innuendos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it also was very much, like... So it felt like partially like an adult kind of show, but it also was like, you can show your kids this and it's perfectly fine. Nobody ever like outright cussed. There wasn't like graphic blood or anything like that.
Exactly.
Like both of these shows are very much like adults can watch it and get like a lot of things, like the Hanna-Barbera references. A few of the innuendos, like Loopity Loop has like the funniest line.
Yeah.
That's like if they didn't mean it as a dirty joke, like.
Yeah, I just remembered about Loopy Doo Loop. Like, yeah, there are jokes here that kids will not understand.
Yeah. Like, my favorite line is from Loopity Loop, and they're inviting Captain Caveman to go badminton, and they're like, we need a fourth player. Loopity Loop won't play. And she just goes, I refuse to move my body for sport. Only pleasure.
Yeah. That was hilarious. And it
takes you off guard, too.
It does. It super does. Because it's like, it has the veneer of a kid-friendly show, but like a sneak jokes in that kids will not get.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And so that's why it's like, it seems like anybody could enjoy the show, really.
Yeah, it just very much depends on like what your sense of humor is.
Yeah.
If you don't like really over the top wacky stuff, or you're so married to the idea of like the original Hanna-Barbera characters, of like preserving them and don't change anything about them, then you're probably not gonna like the show, because pretty much every character in Jellystone has undergone some sort of change, and not just like the gender flip thing, just in personality. Like,
yeah,
they're either been amplified a bit more, or they've gone like a completely different personality.
Yeah.
And like a completely different stick, but that's probably just due to the fact that they had to put these characters in a new setting, so they have to make them all work together, basically.
Well, yeah, I think the idea from the creators of the show was that what I'm guessing is that like if you tried to make this kind of show and keep all the characters exactly the same as they were, it wouldn't be that entertaining, because a lot of the characters in Hanna-Barbera acted very similar and had very stiff personalities. And if you're gonna make a crossover where they all interact with each other, you have to have variety. So you have to change the way they act, and sometimes completely change their personality. I think that's what they did.
Basically, like stuff like Wacky Races and the Laugh Olympics, like stuff where they did do crossovers, those worked, but only because they were doing something else too. They weren't just all living in a town. In Wacky Races, they were racing.
Yeah.
It was a race, so you had like. Plus, Dick Dastardly also really helped make that show.
Yeah, yes. Dick Dastardly was the best character, I think.
Yeah. So on top of like the races, you had like Dick Dastardly. So that's what helped to make that show like really entertaining was just the situation. Same with the Laugh Olympics, and seeing all these characters kind of interact or at least be in the same space was kind of novel. I think even back then.
Yeah, like they actually did a lot of this. Jellystone isn't that different from the kind of thing they would have done in those days because they actually were a lot of Hanna-Barbera crossovers in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Like you say, Laugh Olympics, and there were other shows. Like there was a show I think. There was a show. Yogi had a crossover show. It was like where he was flying in like a magic arc or something, and I think Huckleberry Hound and Quickjaw McGraw and Snagglepuss were with him. And like I can't remember what that show was called, but I know there was a show about Yogi. I think it was from the 70s. It lasted like really short, like a one season, and it was about him flying in a magic arc. And they had adventures with each other, and it was like a Hanna-Barbera crossover, and it's very like this. Like I said, the Jellystone is kind of in the same spirit of that. All the Hanna-Barbera characters live in the same universe type thing.
Yeah, because while like some of these characters, especially like with their like new personalities, while you could potentially make them work in either their own shows or in their own self-contained shows, like they're not in Jellystone, they're just doing their own thing. I think putting them together in Jellystone will definitely helps like some of the very much like obscure characters kind of shine. Stuff like because you get references to stuff like the Chattanooga Cats in this, all because they're living in Jellystone.
Yes, exactly. And the Chattanooga Cats are the kind of obscure Hanna-Barbera characters where it seems like they would have never even brought up again unless they had a huge crossover where they had an excuse to bring them in. Like it's like this is a good way to shine a spotlight on a lot of obscure characters.
Yeah. So, and because of that, you're able to get like Augie Doggy and Yakety? Yeah, like Yakety Duck.
Oh, the duck?
Yeah.
Yacky Doodle.
Yacky Doodle. Yeah. Along with Shaggarug from like Hillbilly Bears. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, along with him from Hillbilly Bears. So you can have those three interact like constantly. And the episode where they're trying to get into like the movie theater, I think that was really funny too.
I did think that was a funny one. Yeah, that was one of their best, I thought. Mm-hmm. Yes. And like even characters like Rough and Ready, which was like the first, I think it was like the first Hanna-Barbera show ever made because it came out in like 1957.
Yeah, I think this was after they left. I can't quite remember where exactly they left, but it was when they founded their own studio.
When Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera left MGM,
that was it.
Yeah, making Tom and Jerry cartoons, and then they transitioned because MGM was shutting down the animation division. They went to television instead, and I think founded Hanna-Barbera, and I think their first show was Rough and Ready, and Rough and Ready are in this show, and they completely overhauled them too because like Rough and Ready are robots in this show.
Yeah,
really, I was surprised by it because I was like, I saw Rough and Ready in the show, and they looked mechanical, and I was like, are they robots? And it was it just sort of goes to show how creative the people making the show are. That's not just a personality change. They just decided, let's not make them real dogs and cats, let's just make them androids.
Yeah, and they just kind of take advantage of that. Not for an entire episode, it's just like partially an episode, but when they basically blow up that episode, but they're like changing their proportions and like upgrading themselves, all the while screaming how much they love each other. Like, I appreciate our friendship, and then the one punches the other.
Yeah, exactly. It's just completely different from how the old cartoons were. They just made it. They amplified the wackiness up to like 10.
Yeah, that does bring up though, like how seemingly random some of the stuff that they do with them. Not to any bad degree or anything. I don't think there's anything in this show where I'm like, why did they do that? That doesn't add anything. Like everything adds something.
Yeah.
But Yogi Bear as a surgeon in a hospital. How many of you guys would have given Yogi Bear the profession of a surgeon?
See, now, that's a good point, because there's a lot of things like that in the show where you're thinking that this makes no sense. How? Who gave Yogi Bear a medical degree?
I know.
Huckleberry Hound is the mayor, and he's sort of like not that great a mayor in a way.
Yeah. But at least Huckleberry Hound, I think, makes at least a little bit of sense.
Right, because, Huckleberry Hound is like a nice person, and he wants the town to succeed, and he seems like his heart is in the right place and everything.
Yeah. Plus, like, even like in the original, Huckleberry Hound was actually like the first really popular Hanna Barbera character.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense for him to be the mayor of Jellystone, because he did kind of help all these other characters become popular back in the day because of his success.
Yeah, I think that was a creative decision to make him the mayor. That makes total sense.
Yeah. I'd have to ask personally about the Yogi surgeon thing.
Yeah, I would ask Huckleberry Hound if I were in Jellystone. Do you think Yogi Bear is a good surgeon?
Oh, he would say yes. You know
he would say yes. Of course, he would say yes, because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yes, or he would say he. Just give him time. He has the potential to be a good surgeon. He would say something like that. He would say something like that.
Yeah. Because again, like, it's not that Yogi Bear being a surgeon again doesn't add anything. It does. They remind you of his profession like all the time in the show.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about how important it is that he is in the hospital.
Yes.
Like the episode where he thinks he's a cat, so he joins Top Cat's gang.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to bring him back, and I'm like, so Yogi Bear's like the only semi-competent surgeon in this entire town? That's kind of scary.
That is scary. But yeah.
Yeah, and they do like gags in like the hospital and stuff. Cindy Bear, another character who got like a big personality overhaul, but most people say for the best. She was basically just the girlfriend character.
Exactly. Cindy had no strong personality up until this point, so I think that this is probably her best rendition.
Yeah, and they made her basically like an inventor / mad scientist who it sounds bad to say she experiments on like the patients, but she kind of does.
Yeah.
At least she did with Yaki Duck in that one episode.
Yeah, Cindy seems slightly unhinged in this show, kind of.
Yeah, but not in a super obvious way. You see the most of that in the episode where she turns everyone into gelatin.
Yeah, that was probably the peak.
Yeah. And I also think that was a funny episode, though, too. It's just because, like, her descent into madness.
Yeah, her descent into madness. That was one of those, like, top-tier episodes because it was just, like, completely unhinged wackiness, which I think is when the show is at its best.
Mm-hmm. It also had my favorite reference in that show, and it was a Flintstones reference, but they're on a steamy erotica book.
Yeah, Wilma and Fred on the cover of an erotica book. It was hilarious. I cracked up when I saw that.
I think that's like the closest they're gonna get to like Flintstones. Like, I don't know. I don't think like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, or Scooby Doo, even though they could and they're owned by Hanna Barbera. Yeah. I don't think they're gonna bring them in. At least not at this stage.
I think that they might intentionally be doing that. Yeah, because maybe they're doing it because the Flintstones takes place in the Stone Age and the Jetsons takes place in the future. So
that's what I was thinking.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's probably it. And I feel like Scooby Doo they might be avoiding just because Scooby Doo already gets so much attention. Yeah. So they don't need to if they had Scooby Doo, they're never gonna get to the Chattanooga Cats like that. Yeah. So I think that's wise too.
Yeah, I think at most they might do like one episode with them, but they're not going to be permanent residents of like Jellystone or anything like that.
No. And then exactly. I feel like they're trying to pay homage to obscure cartoons with this show. I think it's basically what they're trying to do more of.
And And I do agree with that because we also had like a ton of like Scooby-Doo clones and stuff like that, basically. Stuff like the Funky Phantom. The Funky Phantom makes an appearance in this.
Yeah, in one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, that episode was great. I think it's one of my favorites too. It might be my favorite simply because, basically, for anyone who doesn't know, the Funky Phantom appears as a wrestler in Jellystone. He was a wrestler back in his prime. So Huckleberry Hound gets like a wrestling competition going within Jellystone in order to basically give the Funky Phantom like his moment of glory back.
Yeah.
And the outfits, the themes, the things that all the Jellystone residents come up with, I almost wish there was more simply because like that was really funny.
There were some of the funniest moments in the entire season were in that episode, I think.
Yeah, and again, it's seemingly random to make the Funky Phantom a wrestler, but it was to its benefit because that episode again was just so funny.
Yeah, it was exactly, but it was also like what was the Funky Phantom before he was a wrestler? He was like, wasn't he like some Scooby-Doo clone who like solved mysteries?
I think basically, yeah. Like, at the very least, like, they had like the Scooby-Doo formula of they had like a gang and they'd solve mysteries, quote unquote. How deep the mysteries were or anything like that, I don't know. I'd have to watch the original Funky Phantom again.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Funky Phantom and Jabberjaw and Speed Buggy. It's like, and other obscure things like Goober and the Ghost Chasers. It's like I don't remember what the plots of the episodes of those shows were, but I think I assume they're probably like just solving mysteries or something like that, because what else would they be doing? Like what how do you come up with a plot for a show about a talking car and a bunch of people riding it? Like, I feel like they're probably just having crazy misadventures and trying to solve problems or something, and that formula can get stale, and so I feel like, hey, let's change it up and make Funky Phantom a wrestler.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense, too, because the Funky Phantom does kind of sound like a wrestling name.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's kind of clever when you think about it. It's Funky Phantom. That's a very wrestler-sounding name. So they were, like, trying to, like, make it make sense in a way. It's not just completely random.
Yeah. And like I said, like, because, like, it led to, like, the funniest episode, like, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Same.
The only other like characters that people might have like an issue when it comes to like their profession and stuff that has been changed is the banana splits.
Oh, I'm glad you brought the banana splits up.
Yeah,
because let's talk about the banana splits, because they appear in this show. And they're like kind of, what are they? They're kind of like criminals.
They're like crooks. Like they're mafia. Like, they're like half a mafia, half a gang leader, but not the same gang as like Top Cat or Harry the King.
No,
which appears on this show. They're like straight up like, we're the bad guys now. They're I think somebody compared them to the Beagle Boys from DuckTales.
They are kind of like the Beagle Boys from DuckTales. Yeah. Yeah, they're not like likable crooks like Top Cat or something like that. Like, where like, yeah,
Top Cat's like a crook, but he's not really doing anything that actively like harms people.
No, he's just trying to go. He's just looking out for himself and
trying to get their money, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the banana splits are kind of unlikable and irredeemable, like very hard gangsters.
Yeah. I mean, in the episode when they're basically shaking down the Hillbilly Bear's character, like Shag, again, I can't remember if that's exactly his name, but
the little bear with the
the little bear with the blue hat. Like, when they're shaking down him, like, it's like they kind of get a little bit redeemed in that episode.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But then they like go back to like, there's an episode, the next episode is them basically harassing El Kabong.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. There is not a lot of, well, see, that's what I'm talking about. There isn't a lot of character development in here. It doesn't seem like the people really care a lot about making them likable as much as they care about making it funny. The people behind the show. And so, yeah, Banana Splits, you can watch the show for yourself and judge how you feel about the banana splits, but they are kind of, hard criminals.
Yeah. It's at least a little bit better because they also, like, the Chattanooga Cats, they had the Chattanooga Cats as animatronics in a location, and yeah, they go wild and destroy the place.
Yeah.
That could have been the Banana Splits, and oh boy.
That could have been.
At least they didn't have the Banana Splits as murderous animatronics again.
That would have been hilarious. Like, but I'm glad they didn't do that because I like how they handled the Banana Splits in this.
Yeah.
And I did think it was kind of clever how they decided to make the Banana Splits kind of like the villains in the show, because if you look at the original Banana Splits show from the 60s, which was not animated. There were animated segments in it.
Yeah, but they were all in costume.
Yeah, the Banana Splits were all costume characters, and it's not like looked upon with a lot of love by Hanna-Barbera fans. It was, and I watched the original Banana Splits, a few episodes of it, and it wasn't, and I didn't like it. It wasn't that great. It was kind of like a lame kids show trying too hard to be fun and hip, and like trying too hard to appeal to kids. It's just with these lame people in dog and elephant costumes doing wacky stuff. Like, that's my feel. Other people might like it, but that's how I felt about it. And I feel like they aren't the characters, they aren't that likable or that like compelling, those costumes characters. They were just like, it felt like they were just guys in costumes doing stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that they made them into like sort of like unlikable villain characters sort of made sense to me, because I sort of didn't like them, and I villainized them in the original. So
yeah. I think I get what you mean. They're only unlikable in like the in-universe kind of way, though. But their antics are like so funny. I end up liking them as the villains, basically.
Yeah,
or light villains, I should say. Because
they're not villainous. They're just sort of like you said, they're kind of like gangsters.
Yeah. Because even when they take out El Kabong, who anybody who's familiar with El Kabong, he's basically like a vigilante.
Yeah. And
when they take him out and they're able to do as much crime in the city that they can, which is a lot.
Yeah.
According to them. They just do things that are basically pranks.
Yeah, it's just pranks. They don't like hurt people that often.
Yeah, like the worst that they did was replace Yogi's tie with a live fish.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're just kind of like clownish gangsters. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, you're right. They're not. When I say they're unlikable, I still like them.
Oh yeah.
They just in that world, they would probably be the most unlikable to all the other characters.
Yeah.
But I do like that, and I like their take on the C.H. Greenblatt's take on the Banana Splits. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, plus like in this universe where they're basically taking all protagonists or characters who were either like basically characters who are in their own block and were their own kind of protagonists, you gotta change some of them at least to be a little antagonistic. Not completely, again, like supervillain kind of thing, but another kind of antagonistic character is the King character that appears in the Top Cat episode, Cats Do Dance.
Oh.
Yeah, it's that one, the lion character that's like, hey, it's the king.
Oh, yes. Oh, the king. Yes, right. That those characters who were in that cartoon, what was the cartoon called? Hey,
it's the king.
Hey, it's the king.
Yeah. And he goes, hey, I'm the king.
Yes. I was so surprised by that, because like that when I talk about how they have Easter eggs and how they talk about like they make references to old Hanna-Barbera shows, I was not even aware of this one. I think I might have heard of it, but the one, hey, it's the king, but like I never watched it though.
Yeah.
And when I saw them, I thought they were original characters. I thought, oh, they created new characters for the show, but no, they existed, and that kept happening.
Yeah, because just to give anyone an idea, if you watch Jellystone, almost no character that appears. I think there may be one original character, but that's the Flabby Dabby Webby character.
Yeah, Flabby Dabby Webby.
Yeah, I think like that's the only original quote unquote character in this show. Every character came from something.
Every single character came from something. Even that duck that was selling insurance. Like
Yeah, he's from Yogi's Goofy Galaxy Goof Up. Though.
Yeah, Yogi's Galaxy Goof Ups. Even characters you think might be original, like that, have appeared somewhere, and it's crazy how C.H. Greenblatt really went through the archives to put Hanna-Barbera characters you probably forgot about in this show.
Yeah. And I just like that in general, that they don't create any new characters for this show, that they do go back to the Hanna-Barbera library, because when it comes to Hanna-Barbera, they were around for quite a while.
Yeah, for decades.
Yeah, they were around for decades. And on top of that, basically they'd get a block. It was either 30 minutes or an hour. But that block wouldn't be dedicated to just one set of characters. They basically make it a variety show. So the Banana Splits would be with the Chattanooga Cats.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they'd be in sort of the same block.
Yes, exactly. They like to do that a lot. They like to combine shows into one a lot.
Yeah. So what you wind up is decades worth of characters. And it felt at least with a lot of the Hanna-Barbera characters, they'd find a formula, or they'd see a formula from someplace else. They came up with a Scooby-Doo formula, I think, pretty much on their own, or...
I think so, yeah.
It might have been from something, but it kind of wound up being its own thing.
Yeah.
At least now we associate the formula with Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, they took over it now.
Yeah, but basically they came across that formula, they repeated that formula, so you wound up with a lot of characters simply because basically just make these characters, put them in this situation, boom.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Barbera and Will Hanna, were super prolific in creating a ton of shows, and working on a ton of shows at the same time, and having a bunch of different characters. And it was because they were simplistic characters who could be put into a lot of situations. If these shows were masterpieces or well written, they probably would have focused more time on just one or two of them. But that was kind of why they were able to make so many, because they weren't that creative. They were just kind of made on a factory. It's kind of like a not looked well upon period in animation for a lot of animation fans, because of how formulaic things were in those days.
Yeah, because Hanna-Barbera, William Hanna, Joe Barbera, while they were working at MGM, their budgets constantly got cut down on animation until they were eventually basically fired. And so they were able to figure out how to work with limited animation, basically back before computers made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, yes.
In order to do things. So, I mean, to be fair, animation wasn't easy even at any point in time.
Yeah.
It's still not easy nowadays.
Yes.
Just to be fair, but
yeah.
Even back then, you kind of had to work with what you had.
Yeah, and you had to. See, here's the thing. A lot of people talk about the downgrade of theatrical cartoons to television animation, and how noticeable it was, and how Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry were so much better than Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear, and stuff like that. But yeah, in terms of animation quality, especially because you just said, it's limited animation.
Yeah.
But you had no other choice in those days. You couldn't do you if you wanted to work in animation, but no theatrical company would hire you. You had to work in television, and television's budgets are small, so this was the only thing they could do, and they made it work because Hanna-Barbera is a successful company.
Yeah, and to be fair, while we associate Hanna-Barbera with a lot of Scooby-Doo clones and things like that, they didn't just do comedy-based shows. They did stuff like Johnny Quest.
Yes. Yes.
Mighty Minotaur, I believe?
Mighty Mightor.
Mighty Mightor, that was it.
Yeah,
they did and the Valley of the Dinosaurs, and those weren't comedy-based shows.
Yeah, well, see, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's the thing about that. Johnny Quest was I think Johnny Quest was their first show they made that wasn't comedy-based.
Yeah.
And that came out in, I think it was 1967, and and once Johnny Quest became popular, then they started making a bunch of other stuff like the Valley of the Dinosaurs and Sea Labs 2020 and Herculoids and eventually Scooby Doo, which is also sort of like which was comedic, but it was like the characters were more realistic looking.
Yeah. Like Thundar the Barbarian was one that I remember watching on like Boomerang too.
Yeah. A lot of these characters were introduced to me on Cartoon Network and Boomerang.
Yeah. And they did also have like a kind of formula too, like basically people like going on adventures and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it was still kind of a fun formula.
It was a fun formula. Well, they did it. They repeated it over and over for a reason because it worked. Like they did the same thing. Like Scooby Doo, very similar to Josie and the Pussycats, Sea Lab, Speed Buggy, and Jabberjaw, and like even if you compare the casts of these shows to each other, the characters are similar too. Not just the plot, it's just the characters.
It's like usually like at least one female character, a non-human character of some kind, usually an animal. Yeah, like as they're basically like their hook kind of character.
Right.
A Shaggy character.
Who's sort of like nerdy and sort of maybe like more scared than the other ones.
Yeah. And he may be voiced by the original voice actor for Shaggy.
Casey Kasem.
Kasem. I thought that was his name. I wasn't sure.
Didn't you say Casey Kasem voiced someone in Josie and the Pussycats?
He did. He voiced like the Shaggy character in Josie and the Pussycats too.
Exactly. See, they even hired the same voice actors to play the characters who were based on the other characters.
Yeah. And he wore green too. And every time like that character opened his mouth, I'm like, oh, you are just Shaggy in a different wig.
It's just Shaggy. You sound exactly like him.
Yeah.
You're just Shaggy. That's how shameless they were about just repeating formulas over and over.
Yes, something happened to Scooby and Shaggy left the Mystery Gang and joined a band, Josie and the Pussycats, and that's what happened.
Oh yeah, exactly. And another kind of formulaic thing, just to go off on a small tangent, was the fact that they were in bands. They were musicians. Like Josie and the Pussycats were musicians. I think because Archie had an animated series. I think Hanna Barbera didn't make it though. I think Filmation made it, but the Archie animated series, they had a band, and it actually was legitimately a popular band outside of the show because they had like the animated characters had real records sold and the record was popular, and so because of that, Hanna Barbera I think was trying to horn in on that formula, not just Scooby-Doo, but also, hey, let's make Josie and the Pussycats singers. Let's make...
Yeah. Because, fun fact, the Scooby-Doo gang, one of the concepts was that they were in a band.
Yes, that was originally what they were going to do.
But they decided not to and instead focus a little bit more, at least what they could, on the horror aspect, the monster aspect, and just keep it specifically mystery, which was probably a smart idea.
I think, yeah.
If only because, like, it wound up being this popular, so, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, like, it was very popular to have characters in a band on top of that, too. So you got a lot of characters that were in a band simply because they could create music. You could, like, sell that music. And if that music became, like, very popular, then people would go to the show.
I noticed, like... Josie and the Pussycats were in a band. Jabberjaw was in a band, and so was the Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. I don't know if you know that one.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
I saw like a couple of episodes. They were also very Scooby-Doo-ish.
So it was always some girl had a tambourine.
Yeah,
there was always a tambourine in at least one of those bands.
Yeah, and nowadays you can't have Josie and the Pussycats and Jellystone because they are owned by Archie.
Right.
So that's the reason why they're not going to appear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Josie and the Pussycats, even the Archie reboot Riverdale on the CW, Josie and the Pussycats are in that. So, like, someone else has control of them.
Yeah, same with the Smurfs, because that was also, I think, like, animated by Hanna-Barbera at one point.
Yes.
Like the original Smurfs.
Yes.
But they're owned by...
I don't know who they're owned by, but Sony makes a lot of their movies.
Yeah. So either they own them or they have a deal somewhere.
Yeah, they have a deal. So
either way, they're owned by like original creators, so they can't get them in Jellystone without basically, I think, again, making a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think they're going to do that because they have the entire rest of the Hanna-Barbera library. And like I said, almost no character that you see in this show is original. Every character is from something, so they have a lot to work with.
Yes, and I love that about the show. My favorite thing about the show is how they bring back characters who I haven't thought about in ages and brought them back to like a new show. And it's like, wow, I'm surprised you even remembered that character existed, and you're gonna bring him back. And it's like, just as an animation nerd, it's just entertaining to watch that.
Yeah. I think that's basically Jellystone's strongest because I've seen like so many people be like, oh, I want to bring back, like, I want to see Hong Kong Phooey in Jellystone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see like all these like characters come back. I want to see Penelope Pitstop in Jellystone.
Yeah.
That's my personal one.
Yes, you're waiting for Penelope Pitstop.
Yeah, I love the Perils of Penelope Pitstop. That was my obscure Hanna-Barbera cartoon growing up.
You're right.
Like, everyone knows about like Scooby-Doo and stuff like that, but nobody talks about the Perils of Penelope Pitstop. So that's my obscure Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yes, exactly.
That's the one I have a nostalgic attachment to.
Yeah. A lot of people who watch Boomerang like have at least one obscure like thing that they loved. Like
Yeah.
Mine might have been Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles.
Oh, I remember the Impossibles.
Yeah, you remember the Impossibles, the superhero team?
Weren't they basically like the Three Stooges?
Kind of. Like, yeah, they were like, they might have been based on them. Yeah, it's like this one guy who like had a spring arms. This other guy, I think he could turn to slime or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, as a kid, I thought that they were like, had something to do with the Three Stooges, but that was me as a kid, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a mess remembering something.
It could be, because, you know how much Hanna-Barbera loves to parody celebrities.
Yeah.
So it could very well be.
Even like, Hey, It's the King, like, again, they'd spy a formula somewhere else that worked, so Hey, It's the King was basically a Happy Days parody.
Yeah, well, see, the most famous example of that was the Flintstones, because the Flintstones was based on the Honeymooners. And basically what they did was say, okay, Flintstones is the Honeymooners with cavemen, and it's such a simple formula. Like Jackie Gleason, the guy who created the Honeymooners, almost sued Hanna-Barbera because of that. It was such a blatant, like, copycat move. He didn't sue them because because parody is legal.
Yeah. They changed just enough because the closest that you can get to like the Honeymooners is like the formula sitcom.
Yeah.
But that's not suable because you can't sue like formulas and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the character is all completely different and it takes place in a different world, so it's not. There's no grounds for it.
The closest was probably Fred Flintstone being basically the main character from like the Honeymooners, I think.
Yeah, Fred Flintstone is like Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, like that was the most closest or plain one, but even then, like, again, they changed just enough because he didn't do like the same catchphrase like the Honeymooners had.
Yeah, no, they didn't copy any of the catchphrases. They weren't trying to remind you of the Honeymooners at all. They weren't parodying the Honeymooners exactly. It was just, they were just like, but they were still being honest about how this we got the idea of this from the Honeymooners, and we just want to see like sort of like a character dynamic that's similar to like Fred being the grouch, Barney being the kind of dim-witted friend, Wilma being the like overbearing wife, quote unquote, and stuff like that. And so yeah, it was similar to the Honeymooners, but not enough to be illegal or anything like that.
Yeah, it's copyright friendly, Honeymooners.
Yes, but that's what Hanna-Barbera liked to do. Hanna-Barbera liked to take other ideas and then make their own twist on it, which is kind of like why they had so many shows and why they were so popular, because they were sort of like, you know, satire and parody those are popular things. People like that. And that usually The Simpsons is the same way. That was sort of satirical. It just in sitcoms in general, and that's a popular formula and it works. And that Hanna-Barbera was like they were a money-making organization, and this was a good, easy way to make money.
Basically. Yeah. Like, they cranked out, like, so much content, hence why Jellystone is, like, so populated.
Yes. Like, they took all of Hanna-Barbera's shows and put them into one show. That's what Jellystone sort of feels like.
Yeah, but I definitely like it. Like I said, my favorite episode might be like the wrestling one, but there's a lot of good moments. There will be some episodes that probably doesn't resonate as deeply. Like, I remember the first few episodes, they were fine, but you could tell they were still kind of getting their ground, trying to figure out how this works.
I sort of felt the same way. I was like, I wasn't sure if I liked the show when I first watched it. When I watched the first two episodes, it took me a while to get into it.
Yeah, so I'd almost recommend like watching episodes like you can watch episodes like in order and stuff like that, but you can also watch it out of order. So if you want to, you can check out like the grocery store episode, the wrestling episode.
Yeah, actually, yeah. If I were gonna suggest like one episode of the show you should watch, I would actually say you should watch episode 3 because like episode 3 was the one with the grocery store. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But so yeah, and you don't have to watch them out of order because like I almost didn't watch them in order either because I saw the descriptions of the episodes and I was like, oh, like I didn't watch all these yet, but I'm looking at the description of episode 9 and it looks like there's like, oh, Augie, Doggy, and Doggy Daddy go into a video game or something, and I'm a video game fan, so I like, let me watch that one. I almost did that because yeah, just whichever one like sounds appealing is like that's a good way to do it. You don't have to watch them in order.
Yeah, you don't have to watch them in order if you really don't want to. It's not really that kind of show where you have to. That being said, I can understand if people do, if only because I kind of do the same thing with things no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. But there are some. But so the point is, there are some episodes that are more funny than others. So don't judge it based on just 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah. Basically, I'd say like, give it at least 4 or maybe even 5 episodes. I know that's half the category right now.
Yeah.
But again, once you get more into it, it definitely helps pick up, and you'll probably find at least one character that you really like. That's also kind of the advantage to this kind of show is while you do get a lot of characters, and sometimes it's not quite as funny as other episodes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because you do have so many characters, you're eventually going to.
Yeah.
You're eventually going to find that one character that you really like.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost inevitable that there's going to be at least one character in the show who you like. That's how big the cast is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any final thoughts regarding Jellystone? I know we kind of made this into Jellystone Hanna Barbera kind of talking.
I'll just give my tiny review just to close it off.
Gotcha.
I liked it. It took a little while for it to grow on me. I think after 3 episodes, I started really appreciating it, and it's always at least 2 or 3 moments that really make me laugh out loud every episode. It's not deep emotional kind of thing. That's not not a lot of character development. It's mostly just joke oriented. If you've ever watched the sitcom Seinfeld, it's just like Seinfeld. There's no heartfelt emotional moments or lessons learned. It's all just laughs, joke oriented the whole way. And if you get into that mindset, like I said earlier, and don't expect anything else but just other than just pure laughs, then I think you'll get into it.
Yeah. And I definitely think if you're someone who really enjoyed Hanna-Barbera in the past, you watch a lot of Hanna-Barbera and stuff like that, but you're not completely married to the concept of the characters, or you're perfectly fine with them being remixed, then you will definitely get a huge kick out of this show. If you just enjoy Hanna-Barbera, then you're going to enjoy seeing these characters at least on screen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to enjoy it. And some of the personalities you're probably going to be oh, that's better, or that's more funny,
Right.
So, in general, I think Jellystone ranges from being at its worst, it's just okay.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Which is not at all bad, but for the most part, it is a consistent, pretty good. And there are some moments that, leap it into, being really great.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. It's the number rating I gave it was 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Kind of, that's how I felt about it. Not bad, not great.
Yeah.
But it is really enjoyable most of the time.
Yeah. I definitely say, like, give it a shot. There's currently only 10 episodes, but that's only half the season at the moment. They have 10 more episodes slated, and we've even gotten some, basically, like, teasers to, like, new episodes, because they released, like, a video and they had, like, new scenes that we hadn't seen.
Right.
There might be a Snagglepuss-related episode, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, because we didn't get a lot of Snagglepuss.
He was there, like, consistently, but he wasn't the focus.
He wasn't the focus, exactly. And I do like Snagglepuss, so I hope that's true,
Yeah. And just to add, like, a little fun to, like, these closing thoughts, what was your favorite reference in Jellystone? Like, what was the thing that, like, really, like, made you laugh?
I'm gonna have to go with the Fred Flintstone, Wilma Flintstone erotica.
That's my favorite.
we both enjoyed that one.
We both agree that was probably the greatest, like, Flintstones, like, reference ever. I love that.
Yeah, that was just I couldn't hold it together when I saw that. You should be prepared. The show can be really funny sometimes.
Yeah, it'll take you off guard like a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's really fast paced and really energetic and really fun. It's like, so it might put you in a good mood too. So
yeah, it has like a ton of jokes. Some of them hit, some of them miss, but because it is so fast paced, you'll get more jokes that I think you'll laugh at more than you will be like, that didn't really work.
Yeah, I do recommend it. I do think you should give it a chance. You might like it. I fully recommend it.
Yeah, I fully recommend it too. It's only currently available on HBO Max, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the only other way would be to pirate at the Blackwater this. If you catch my drift.
Yeah. Or if you want to do something legal, you could try to just subscribe to HBO Max for a free trial.
Yeah.
And if you have a free trial, you'll be able to finish it if you binge it like really quickly. So
yeah, it's a very binge watchable show. Like, we binge watched it like 2 days ago, and it was pretty easy to just kind of
all the episodes are very short, so it's really easy, and they're only 10, so it's really easy to binge.
Yeah. They'll be getting new episodes, and I definitely hope this winds up being a show that C.H. Greenblatt can work on for as long as his heart can take it.
Yeah, I want this show to have a lot of seasons. I hope it gets even better and better.
Yeah. And I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing characters. Like, if they decide to bring him in, like, Hong Kong Phooey, I agree with that one. I agree. Yeah. I want to see that character.
Yeah, there are some characters in the show who I want to see that I don't think we saw yet. Like, I think I saw Quickie Koala. I saw Quickie Koala in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I hope we get more Quickie Koala because he was just a background character in this. And Hong Kong Phooey I love, so I'm hoping that he gets more screen time.
Or like any at all. He hasn't been referenced in the show quite yet.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, and also the other one is I really love Space Ghost and Birdman. They were, like, I don't know if they're gonna appear, but like I would love it if they did.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Let us know, like, which character any of you guys are going to be looking forward to seeing in Jellystone.
Yeah, exactly.
because if this show goes on for a while, then we may very well get to see, like, more characters appearing, and I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, I hope this show has a lot of seasons. Like, so because more seasons means more obscure references.
Yeah, and I definitely hope this does help to springboard some more Hanna Barbera stuff. It helps give, I guess you could say, the Hanna Barbera cartoons more wind, because I'd love to see a Top Cat revival. I know, like, they're big in, like, Mexico and Latin American countries, but seeing, like, a Top Cat series again would be nice.
Yeah, like, I would watch, like, a show about almost all these characters, so, like, so I would be happy if they led to, like, a revival of, like, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, or, like, any of them. I would watch it.
And Hanna Barbera, if you happen to be listening, the ghost of Hanna Barbera. If anybody just so happens to be listening to this, who's in high places, a wacky racist movie would be the bomb.
I would watch that.
Like, if you're gonna do a cinematic universe, get a wacky racist movie going.
If you know someone from Warner Brothers, just spread the word.
Yeah. I think that pretty much concludes, like, the Jellystone thoughts. We both really like the show. We think it's a great show. We hope C.H. Greenblatt can work on it more because, unfortunately, with Chowder and Harvey Beaks, he hasn't really had like a super long-running show, like not like Powerpuff Girls or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. He doesn't. He hasn't had that huge hit yet.
Yeah, he's had hits, but it hasn't resulted in like the most seasons or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Right.
So, C.H. Greenblatt, if you're listening to this, I doubt it, but if you're listening to this, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some great work, and we hope that you can work on this series for a long time.
Yes, ditto, exactly.
So, yeah, we'll be seeing you all later. I was Dragonfate88, most specifically online, and along with my boyfriend, Eli Sanza. Thanks for joining me on this.
Yep, it was very fun. I love talking. I love nerding out with you.
Definitely. And we'll catch you guys some other time. Later.
Bye.